Hey guys, today I bring you an impressive story. Victor Callahan, a retired doctor, had a near-death experience and received visions for October 25th to 28th, 2024. What he saw will leave you speechless. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss any details of this surprising revelation. Get ready for something that will challenge everything you know. My name is Victor Callahan. I am 67 years old and a retired doctor. I decided to share today, October 24th, 2024, an experience that completely changed my life and my perception of death. As a doctor who has worked for decades in emergency rooms and palliative care units in Boston, I have always maintained a close relationship with the border between life and death. However, what I am about to relate happened long before my medical career, when I was just 7 years old. It was an experience that deeply marked my soul and guided my entire subsequent existence. I spent years trying to rationalize what happened to me on that fateful day, searching for scientific explanations that could justify every sensation, every vision. But today, especially with the proximity of events that were revealed to me during my experience, I feel it is time to share my story in its entirety, without reservations or attempts at rational explanations. What I experienced was real as the air I breathe now. The decision to share my experience was not easy. Throughout my professional life, I kept this part of myself hidden, fearing judgment from my professional colleagues. How could a doctor, trained in the most rigorous traditions of modern science, admit that he had a near-death experience that not only changed his life, but also bestowed upon him gifts that defy rational comprehension? I come from a traditional Boston family where rationality and pragmatism have always been fundamental values. My father was a physics professor at the university, and my mother was a librarian. I grew up in an environment where the scientific method was almost a religion. Maybe that's why the impact of what happened to me was even deeper. How can we reconcile an education based on logic with an experience that completely transcends the limits of what we consider reality? This is the story I need to tell now, not just for myself, but for everyone who has ever wondered what lies beyond the boundaries of life as we know it. It was an ordinary spring afternoon when everything happened. I had been taken to the hospital with a throat infection, and the doctor prescribed penicillin. Nobody knew until then that I was severely allergic to the medicine. The reaction was immediate and devastating. My throat began to close, and within seconds I could no longer breathe. The last thing I remember was my mother's terrified face as the medical team rushed to help me. Then it happened. I felt an indescribable lightness, and suddenly I was floating above my own body. I could see with perfect clarity the medical team working frantically on me, applying adrenaline, trying to restore my breathing. I saw my mother being restrained by a nurse, her silent tears streaming down her face. It was like watching a scene from a movie, but I was simultaneously a spectator and a protagonist. The most extraordinary thing was that he was not afraid. On the contrary, I experienced a deep peace and a serene curiosity about everything that was happening. I could hear the doctors' voices as if they were far away, but I perfectly understood every word they said. Pressure falling, no respiratory response, prepare defibrillator. Each phrase echoed with crystal clarity, but without causing any anxiety in me. I remember noticing the most minute details of the scene. The clock on the wall showing exactly 3:33 in the afternoon, the crooked badge of one of the nurses, even a small coffee stain on the sleeve of the head doctor's coat. It was as if my senses were extraordinarily heightened, capturing every detail with surreal clarity. The most fascinating thing was that I could see through the hospital walls, noticing other people in other rooms, their own stories unfolding simultaneously with my medical emergency. Suddenly, I felt a gentle force pulling me away from the hospital scene. It was as if a gentle but irresistible wind was guiding me towards a distant point. Then I saw it, a tunnel of velvety but not frightening darkness. At the end of it, a light brighter than anything I had ever seen on Earth, but which, strangely enough, didn't hurt my eyes. The movement through the tunnel was smooth, as if I were floating on a stream of warm water. As I got closer to the light, I began to feel an unconditional love and a sense of belonging that I had never experienced before. It was as if every atom of my being recognized that light as its true home. The light wasn't just bright, it pulsed with a life of its own, radiating colors that don't exist in our earthly world. It was as if each color told a story, each pulse conveyed universal knowledge that I understood instantly, without the need for words. As I moved through the tunnel, I began to hear indescribable music, a perfect harmony that seemed to emanate from all directions. It wasn't music as we know it. It was more as if love itself had a sound, as if peace could be translated into melody. The tunnel walls were not static. They undulated with complex geometric patterns that seemed to contain all the wisdom of the universe. As I got closer to the light, I realized it had a conscious quality. It was not just a physical phenomenon, but a living, loving, and infinitely wise presence. It was as if all the understanding of the universe was concentrated in that one point of light, calling me home. In that moment of deep connection with the light, something extraordinary happened. I felt as if all the knowledge in the universe was being poured into my consciousness. That was when I received the 3 gifts that would accompany me for the rest of my life, although I would only fully understand them many years later. The first gift was the ability to see colors in people's hearts. Not physical colors, but emotional auras that revealed the spiritual state of each human being. Intense red for passion and anger, deep blue for peace and serenity, gray for depression and emotional pain. Each color tells a story, reveals an inner truth that words cannot express. The second gift was the ability to astral project, the ability to consciously separate my consciousness from the physical body. It's different from what happened during my near-death experience. It's something I can control, although it took me years to learn how to do it safely and consciously. The third gift, perhaps the most precious, was a deep connection with the divine through meditation. It is not a simple mindfulness practice, but a state of expanded consciousness where I can feel the presence of the universal love I experienced in that light. These gifts came accompanied by immense responsibility. The light showed me that they were not for my personal benefit, but tools to help others on their spiritual journeys. Each gift had a specific purpose: colors to understand people's true needs, astral projection to assist souls in transition, and deep meditation to keep me connected to the divine source of all existence. Today, as I sit in my office in Boston, I feel a shiver run down my spine as I remember the visions I saw during my near-death experience. It's amazing how after so many decades, the images remain so vivid in my mind, especially now that we are on the eve of the days I was shown, October 25th to 28th, 2024. During my journey through the tunnel, I received a series of visions about events that would transform humanity's spiritual consciousness. I saw waves of cosmic energy reaching our planet, raising the vibrations of all living beings. It was not something catastrophic, as many could imagine, but a subtle and profound transformation in the way we perceive reality. The visions showed me people around the world experiencing simultaneous spiritual awakening. I saw colors intensifying around human hearts, as if a veil was being lifted. It was as if humanity was collectively taking a step toward the light I had experienced. The most fascinating thing is that, in recent weeks, I have observed signs of this imminent transformation. The colors I see in people's hearts are more vibrant, more intense. There is a collective restlessness, a greater search for meaning and spiritual connection. Even my most skeptical colleagues began to question their purely materialistic views of reality. This morning, as I prepared to share this story, I noticed a pattern in the colors of people passing by on the street, shades of gold and violet that I had never seen before in such intensity. It is as if humanity was unconsciously preparing for an evolution in its perception of reality. For years after my experience, I struggled to suppress these extraordinary gifts. The academic and scientific environment in which I grew up had no room for mystical experiences or extrasensory perceptions. I vividly remember the day when, at the age of 12, I told my father about the colors I saw in people's hearts. His expression of concern and disbelief was enough to make me bury that ability deep in my consciousness. In medical school, I delved deeply into Cartesian scientific thought. I focused on laboratory analyses, empirical evidence, and diagnoses based on hard data. Every time I noticed a colorful aura around a patient, I forced myself to ignore it. When I felt the urge to meditate and connect with that divine light, I occupied myself with more studies and extra shifts. This repression took a significant emotional and physical toll. I developed chronic migraines, insomnia, and a constant feeling of disconnection from my true self. It was like I was only living half my life, denying a fundamental part of who I was. Today, looking back on those years of denial, I realize how much potential for healing and understanding was wasted. How many patients could have benefited if I had allowed my intuitive abilities to complement my medical knowledge? The irony is that the more I tried to suppress these gifts, the more they found ways to manifest themselves at critical moments. It was during a particularly intense shift in the emergency room, about 20 years ago, that my gifts returned in full force. A young woman had been brought in after a serious car accident, and as the team struggled to stabilize her, I began to see a golden light pulsing around her heart. At that moment, I knew exactly what needed to be done to save her, beyond standard medical procedures. Since then, I have allowed my special skills to complement my medical practice, albeit discreetly. I began using deep meditation before complex procedures, allowing intuition to guide my decisions along with technical knowledge. The colors he saw in patients became a valuable tool for understanding emotional and spiritual aspects of their conditions. In my private clinic, which I still maintain today, even after retiring from the hospital, I created an environment that integrates conventional medicine with spiritual care. Patients often comment on the peace they feel upon entering my office without knowing that I regularly practice deep meditation to keep the environment energetically harmonious. The most rewarding thing has been being able to help terminally ill patients in their transition. Through astral projection, I can gently guide you, showing you that death is not an end, but a passage to that same light I found in childhood. Now, sitting in my office this October 2024, I feel the weight of the responsibility I carry. The visions I received 60 years ago about these specific days have become clearer and more urgent in recent weeks. Each morning when I wake up, I notice subtle changes in the energy around me. The colors in people's hearts are intensifying in ways I've never seen before. Just yesterday, during a routine appointment, I noticed something extraordinary. All of my patients had a similar pattern of golden light pulsing in their energy centers. It's as if their spirits are unconsciously preparing for something greater. During my morning meditations, I have been receiving increasingly clear messages about the importance of these next few days. The pressure to share this knowledge has become almost unbearable. As a doctor, I have always been trained to be cautious, to base my claims on hard evidence. But how can I remain silent when I know that a significant transformation is about to happen? How can I ignore the signs that are manifesting themselves more and more clearly? This morning, during my walk to the office, I observed a striking phenomenon. The auras of people on the street seemed to be synchronized, pulsing in the same rhythm, as if a collective consciousness was emerging. I feel like I can no longer contain this information. That's why I decided, after decades of silence, to share my story now. The time is coming, and people need to be prepared for this elevation of consciousness. Exactly 1 week ago, I had an experience that confirmed all my perceptions about the proximity of this transformation. An elderly patient, Ms. Martinez, was in her final moments at the hospital. I was called to accompany her, as is often the case in terminal cases, because of my reputation for providing spiritual comfort to patients. When I entered the room, I immediately noticed something different. Ms. Martinez's aura did not show the typical colors of a person close to death. Instead of the usual grayish tone, her energetic body radiated a vibrant gold, similar to what I have observed in people on the streets lately. At the moment of his passing, something extraordinary happened. Through my astral projection ability, I was able to follow his transition. I saw golden portals opening, identical to those shown to me in my childhood near-death experience. But there was something more. Through these portals, I could glimpse a preparation taking place on the other side, as if a great event was being organized. Mrs. Martinez, in her last moments of consciousness, shook my hand and said, "Doctor, they are getting ready to receive many." Your words confirmed what my visions have shown about the coming days. It is not about mass death, but about a collective transformation of human consciousness. Today, on the eve of the days that were shown to me so many years ago, I feel a mixture of apprehension and hope. My near-death experience wasn't just an isolated event in my childhood. It was a glimpse into a future that's about to materialize. The approaching transformation is not an end, but a new beginning for humanity. I watch people passing by my office window right now, each one carrying in their hearts a light that is about to fully awaken. The color patterns I see now are unlike anything I have ever witnessed in my decades of observation. It is as if the very energetic matrix of reality is recalibrating itself. I decided to share my story today because I feel it is crucial for people to understand that what lies ahead is not something to be feared. The same welcoming light I found in my near-death experience is approaching our collective reality. It is not a light that separates us from life, but one that connects us more deeply with our true essence. Tomorrow is October 25th, the beginning of the period I was shown. I feel in every fiber of my being that we are on the brink of a transformation unprecedented in the history of humanity. It is not the end of the world as some might fear, but the beginning of a new way of experiencing reality, where the separation between the physical and the spiritual will become more tenuous. As a doctor and as someone who has passed through the veil between the worlds, my final message is one of hope and preparation. Be open to the changes that will come. The light that I found in childhood is coming to meet all of us, not to take us, but to awaken us to a new reality. If you liked this beautiful spiritual testimony, leave a like, comment on your impressions, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to watch each new video and help us spread this message to a greater number of people. Until next time.